Hi, my name is Rich Mclean, and I matter. I can prove beyond reasonable doubt a conspiracy to pervert the course of justice, which goes all the way to the office of Prime Minister and Cabinet. My name is Richard Mclean. I'm an artist, an author, an advocate, and I'm a scapegoat. I'm also what I describe as a murder victim. I don't know where to start this story, but please bear with me. It's a lot for me to comprehend. I'm actually a marginalised person. I have schizophrenia, I have ADHD, and I get depression. And it is encourageable that the Charter of Human Rights for a person with a disability has not been adhered to in my case. That says that a person with a disability, me, should not be discriminated against. They should be exploited. They should not have the sanctity of life removed. And they should always have equality before the law and access before the law. They should not have their property withheld, and they should not be tortured. I'm a victim of torture. And it's been unbelievable, this story, when you hear it. I'll start off by saying the Office of Prime Minister and Cabinet, Anthony Albanese's office, refuses my freedom of information. That in itself is a crime. That freedom of information would have revealed a whole lot of systemic injustice. That systemic injustice includes the following: that I am banned at the Australian Financial Complaints Authority, that Comcare and AAT refuse to hear my calls, and they refuse to communicate with me on email. I am a victim of family violence. I was together with someone called Steve Isonides. He worked for ASIO. He exploited me over 5 years and then left me homeless with his dying dog, Chopper, named after Chopper Read, the infamous Australian who he knew. I'd just like to say that he owes me about $500,000. My problem has always been financial. Family violence is never okay. And family violence is occurring to me. And every single day that I live without justice and without my voice heard and without my rights upheld is another day that family violence wins. It's unbelievable what's happened to me. I'm actually a person who has advocated for the black, the trans, the disabled, the differently abled, and those with mental illness my whole life for 30 years as an independent advocate. And I have been proud to serve Australia on local, state, federal, and even international levels. I have acted with my heart, and I have been exploited for it. My 2002 autobiography, Recovered Not Cured, A Journey Through Schizophrenia, was a courageous book, and it led me into some dangerous territory because it was stupid for me to believe that people wouldn't exploit me and people wouldn't damn me to hell for having those experiences and for being so honest about my life. Now, what's happened is an abhorrent miscarriage of justice, and I oppose it right now, and I've always opposed it. This abhorrent injustice has led me to my death. In February 2021, I suffered a fatal self-inflicted injury inside Werribee Mercy Hospital. It was deemed in the Freedom of Information results a fatal attempt and a lethal injury. I was revived from death. Apart from the fact that there should be a settlement about that because the hospital has liability for that tragedy, and for the fact that I now have the evidence that I have an acquired brain injury to do with my memory and my functioning and sometimes my speech, and the fact that my whole face has dropped. I forgot what I was saying then. They owe me a settlement. There is a cover-up. There is a cover-up in the government that is systemic, and it is malicious, and it is intentional, and it acts with impunity to harm me. I don't want to be harmed anymore. I actually want just a simple life with me, my dog, and no one else, and so I can serve the differently abled community with the NDIS again as I did after my doctorate, in which I explored posthumanism and young people's ethical opinions of the future. I wish to say, it was not my mental illness that killed me. It was a comedy of errors and conspiracies by key political people who underpin government policy. That includes Steve Icinides. The government are protecting him. It is no secret, and you can see it on YouTube, of me giving him the engagement ring. He owes me a fair, equal, just settlement. It is out of time because I could never get a lawyer. Why couldn't I get a lawyer? I'll tell you why. I was framed by a very powerful lawyer by the name of Mr. Russell Ball. Mr. Russell Ball works for Ball and Partners. I actually was suffering so bad after a friend's suicide that I was suicidal. And I'd been suicidal for quite some time. And I said to a doctor that I am feeling suicidal and that I went in there to get the NDIS. Now, as a person who is unsure of his reality, I recorded it for my own purposes, innocuously, in order to test my reality, in order to say to myself, yes, you were saying that you were going to kill yourself, you were saying you were suicidal, and you were asking for help, and it was not given. A few months later, I overdosed on medication that he gave me in that very setting, and Mr. Russell Ball stepped in to defend him. Mr. Russell Ball framed me as some kind of mad extortionist, and I have that evidence, and I have evidence for every single thing that I'm saying in this speech. Now, the following places covered up that evidence, which was legitimate legal evidence to be heard before a court. The Health Complaints Commissioner, the Mental Health Complaints Commissioner, IBAC, the police, Millennium Medical Centre, the Victorian Inspectorate and the Government Ombudsman. And who would have thought that Russell Ball informs government policy and advises the Ombudsman? I am a failed whistleblower defending my own murder at ASIC, APRA, the other one, I can't remember the other one, and the Commonwealth Ombudsman. I have never been able to gain traction. I just want a simple life. A simple life looks for me like having a place, a home. It's not too much to ask for. Now, I want my justice, and I'm sending this to all the people that I've presented at over the years. And to that, they're going to have to own up to, were you exploiting me? You wanted to hear all about it when I was talking about mental illness and my experience, but now you don't want to hear about it when the shoe's on the other foot and maybe you're guilty of elongating my vilification. I wish to say this. It's been 2 years since my fatal injury, which I was revived from certain death inside a public hospital, to which the hospital owed me a duty of care. There is now a cover-up. There is now a cover-up about that. There is now a cover-up about my, not one, but 2 work cover cases at the AAT. And Kate Watson is the lawyer that is incorrigibly defending the government's decision to reject me on account that I'm not an employee for the purposes of the SRC Act, when in fact I have a government-issued employee login at the Department of Social Security. That is abhorrent. She is acting outside of her remit as a legal practitioner, because she well knows, as every single public service official does know, and should act within the Charter of Human Rights of people with a disability. Now, I wish to say this. Apart from those things that I said before, about the things that every public service official should act within that remit, every public service official has not. There could be thousands of people that help me, and there could be thousands of people that have heard my story, and there could be thousands of people that turned the other way, and they didn't upset the apple cart, and they acted with a evil kind of nepotism, which has at once protected them and their cushy jobs, and it has victimised me in my persecution. It is really hard to be a person who already thinks they're persecuted and then to actually be persecuted. I have actually suffered irrevocably at the hands of this government, and I'll say this, it's malicious, it's intentional, it's conscious, and they know they're doing it. This is the way they murdered me, and it's exactly the way they've covered it up. And I wish to say this too. There are many other Australians who deserve to be heroes, and I met one of them. His name was Tony Riddle. He's a former SAS returned soldier. He's fought for this country. He tried to get his superannuation when he came back, and he was denied it. He tried to get back into the army again, and they said, first of all, he tried to get compensation for the industrial deafness from the guns and the torture that he'd endured on behalf of this country. And he couldn't get it. So he went to join the army again, the SAS, and they said, you know what? You can't join because you're deaf. And I recorded a conversation covertly with him, in which he came to my home. And he didn't know I was doing it, and I'd forgotten that I was doing it. I thought I might have been in danger because there were drugs involved with me, and because that he maybe killed people. I was protecting myself, but what it revealed is the exact process by which this happens. Psychometric profiling. Psychometric profiling happens when you get an individual and you look at all their internet history and all that kind of stuff, and you look at their life and you actually profile them and exploit them. You get the person and you do the switch. You get the victim and then you blame them for everything that's gone wrong. Well, I tell you this, I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. I'm a truth speaker and I'm a truth seeker. And I have seeked the truth and I know the truth and I know my own truth and I know why I died. And it wasn't because of mental illness. It was because of the profound, systemic, ungodly oppression that I've had to deal with, underpinned by key political stakeholders in this country. And it goes all the way to the Office of Prime Minister and Cabinet. And I wish to say this, that Tony Riddle also explained to me up to $32 billion misused funds in the NDIS, and the fact that someone pinged the NDIS 10 million times for $1 and got $10 million in fraud. This has never been investigated. And also he gave me some other interesting tidbits too. Like the millions of dollars that the Victorian police have given people in fines, those people weren't even registered police officers. This is real conspiracy shit. This is the stuff that goes right to the top. This is the stuff that's a systemic injustice and a brutal oppression and a misguidance of the Australian public. And this is why I deserve to be a whistleblower, and this is why I deserve to say that Tony be a whistleblower, and I wish him all the best. This has been a profound and elongated victimisation of me, and victimisation is against the law. It's against the law, and it's been hurting me. It's been so hurting me. And you know what else? I was incarcerated after squatting, after having my many injustices never been paid because I was up against impossible odds. They incarcerated me as a political prisoner inside a psychiatric unit. And while I was there, Werribee Mercy Hospital, Saltwater Clinic, and the police oversaw Hung Ho Avita Fowler Chelsea, my old landlord, take the entirety of my home's contents. That includes my passport, my documents, my clothes, my antiques, my prints, my many drawings that I'd collected over a lifetime. Everything I ever owned was taken, and everything I ever owned was taken to the tip and thrown into the trash. And when Werribee Mercy Hospital released me, the very place that I'd suffered a fatal injury in which they owed me a duty of care, they released me to a homelessness shelter with a bag of clothes. And not one person's intervened. Not one. I deserve better than this. And you know what? Someone out there is going to listen to me, and someone out there, whether it be in one of the news radio stations or someone there, is going to listen to me. And I'm going to get my justice. I actually am really scared that someone's going to come in here with a bloody Uzi and blow the back of my brains out. I get death threats from my former partner, and I just get a big fat computer says no from every single government department that there ever was, and it's not on. I deserve a life. I deserve equality before the law and access to the law. I have a lawyer, John Boyle, at the moment. Despite all of this going on, he has now sided with the oppressors in saying, we don't see any reason for your claims, and we are still assessing the merits of each of your case. And in the meantime, he's charged me $30,000. That's to a homeless person who has nothing. And I tell you what, the amount of money that I'm owed, many millions of dollars, someone could have easily paid him off. And they think I'm stupid. And I'll tell you what, I'm not. I may be mad, and I'm emotionally mad. But to accent a conscious, malicious, intentional persecution on someone who is already so marginalised, and do it systemically and profoundly and ultimately, absolutely, across all government departments, is nothing short of abhorrent. And for every public service official, and for every cop, and for every politician, I tell you this: you're a coward. You know who's not a coward? Richard fucking Mclean. I ask the Australian public to invest in justice, because this story is going to hit the newspapers one day or the next, and I swear to you, I don't need much in life. I just need a simple home with somewhere to stay with for my dog and I, and safety from oppression, and freedom from oppression, and freedom from the law, and freedom from being framed by a crime in which I have not even committed, for which they'll try and silence me. And that is my story tonight. I'm going to send this to every person that I've ever spoken to, and I'm going to send it, and I'm going to get the help I need. And you know what you're going to get when you get that help? You're going to know that this person, the authentic person, the person that's advocated for the black, the trans, the very old, the very young, the mentally ill, the differently abled, his whole fucking life, and is one, has suffered immeasurably at the hands of the Australian government. And you will know that anything outside of a batshit simple basic life for me with whistleblower protection will go to a fund to do this very thing. And that is this: I'm going to create meaningful experiences for Australia's most marginalised, and be a voice for the voiceless. And I'm going to give that in a way that's got an even biblical allegory about it, from someone who's literally been fucking crucified and then forsaken, because I don't choose to hate. I don't wish harm on anyone out there. I've never wished harm on anyone, and I've never intentionally harmed anyone. And every single person in the world is actually harming me by not acting. And I ask you to share this video, and I ask you to say, it's shit what happened to Rich. Let's help him, because he's going to help the most marginalised in us.